Um, Thank you for those of you who who are here with us in person, and we do have some audiences online with us today over Zoom. It is my absolute honor to be here hosting tonight's session with our Dean, Dr. Carolyn Simard. Hello, everyone. My name is Yichen, and I am the Assistant Director of Recruitment and Enrollment for Northeastern University in Silicon Valley. And tonight's session, we really want to kind of highlight a conversation with our dean here to kind of learn more about our campus, our current plan for this campus, future plan for this campus, and we'll get started. We do have a list of burning questions, and I know a lot of you have pre-submitted your questions, so appreciate you doing that. So we'll get to as many questions as we can. For those of you who are tuning in online with us, feel free to use the chat function, and you can put in questions as the session goes, and we will have plenty of time towards the end for open Q&A. Okay, so first thing first, Dr. Carolyn Simard, we want to hear from you. Tell us a little bit about your background and what made you land here with us.
Yeah, so thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to get to meet existing and prospective students, both in person and online. And so, how did I get here? I've been here at Northeastern since February, and it's been everything I was hoping for. So, I came to the US from Canada. I'm originally French Canadian, and I came as an international student. On an F1 visa, I did a master's degree and then a PhD. And when I did the PhD, I was here at Stanford University, and I quickly became fascinated by Silicon Valley. So I'm a social scientist, so I'm all about studying people and organizations and groups and social networks. And so I became super interested in this region because as soon as I landed here, I was like, this place is so interesting, right? I was having conversations with people from all over the world. Everybody was thinking about the new idea. It was kind of a very different culture than what I had been a part of in Canada. And so I did a PhD really studying technical communities, regional economies of innovation, and the social networks of technology founders. So I like to say that I've always been kind of involved with the tech ecosystem and industry, but coming from a very different background and having a technical degree myself. And when I finished my PhD, I was already kind of thinking, I'm not a good fit for the tenure track because I was already being told I wasn't focused enough on theory and I wanted to be more applied. And I was always asking the question, why does this matter to the real world? And so very early on, I was believing that universities need to be actively engaged with the world as a continuous matter, and that while there is room for theory, you also need to ask, what about impact? And so I spent my career focusing on bridging the gap between academic and industry. And I did that a long time also by focusing on advancing the presence of women in the tech industry. So doing a lot of research on technical organizations, why don't we have more women in computer science and engineering? What can companies do on the ground to make a difference there? And then I built a social impact lab at Stanford that was kind of a new initiative to drive more impact with the world. But that was still very different than what traditional academia was doing. And so Northeastern contacted me and they said, we want to have a dean. And I was like, well, I don't think I fit the traditional profile of what a dean normally would be doing. And they said, no, that's what we're all about. We want people who want to make partnership with industry. We want people who want to create new things. We want people who, and I told myself, what would it be like to be surrounded by people who think this way rather than being the weird one who's always trying to stir something different in traditional academia? And so that's how I ended up here. And it's been absolutely incredible. It's entrepreneurial. People are always thinking about new ideas, new partnerships, new programs. So it's been incredible growth for me to be able to to bring this kind of approach at scale.
Thank you so much for sharing that, your journey in higher ed and, that vision of making impacts in higher ed really align with this campus.
Mhm.
Now that, we've learned a little bit from you on how you landed here,
Yeah.
do you mind sharing with us how did Northeastern decide to come to Silicon Valley and what has changed over the years?
Thank you. So I wasn't there when Northeastern decided to come to Silicon Valley. It was several years ago. But the story that I hear is, how could we not? How could we not? If we are Northeastern and we want to drive impact and drive partnerships and be at the cutting edge, how could we not be in Silicon Valley? Silicon Valley is the global epicenter of technology innovation in the world. And so I think that reason still holds. How could we not be here? It's just such a natural fit for this university to be here.
So, thank you. And we all know that Northeastern is a global campus network. And recently we just have the news coming out that we're officially open out our 14th campus in New York City, which is super exciting. So what do you think, this campus specifically in Silicon Valley, how does that define, the Northeastern brand here?
Yeah, so I've been thinking a lot about, since I joined, what it means to have Silicon Valley in our name and how do we infuse that in everything we do. And I think we have a ton of these elements here, and we have the opportunity to embrace even more the Silicon Valley identity. So I was reading an article by a scholar, Kenji Kushida from the Carnegie Endowment. Want to make sure I credit him. And he was writing about what is Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley has a lot of meanings, right? So it is one, the birthplace of several generations of technology breakthrough, right? So it's a region that is known for a unique approach to innovation. So this means that for us, we want our students to really have the opportunity to be on the ground and get involved in emerging technology and what's new, what's next, right? So having that mindset of being a part of all these waves of innovation. Silicon Valley is also synonymous with the tech industry. Some people call it Silicon Valley, and they think the big tech industry, but it's more than big tech. It's big tech, medium tech, small tech. It's all the tech. And a critical mass of our alumni can be found working in the tech industry. Silicon Valley is also known for tech entrepreneurship. So we also want our students to get exposure to that pathway. By the way, most entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley don't come from a traditional MBA kind of background. They start out as engineering and computer scientists, and they started as technical, and then they find their way to have a product vision, a new company vision, and then they learn the craft of entrepreneurship often by doing. And so I think we can also really expose students to that path. Silicon Valley is also an economic model and kind of a career pathway that focuses on taking risks, thinking big, continuously reinventing oneself, right? This is a region that changes all the time. And so if you think about Northeastern's vision of continuous learning and lifelong learning, Silicon Valley is a great place to experiment with that. What are the skills of tomorrow that we need to infuse now? Silicon Valley is also a certain way of running a culture of innovation. It's a region that's known for kind of challenging traditional hierarchies. So on our campus, we're really building that spirit, which is great ideas can come from anywhere. It's not about somebody's title. So how do we reflect inside our walls that kind of culture where people can speak up and contribute and we can really generate the innovation? And so I think of our campus as the gateway to all that Silicon Valley is and all that it has to offer. And I would really encourage our students to fully engage with this incredible region. And we're also bringing what we think is the best of the region inside of our walls. The last thing I would say, because I'm a social scientist by training, is that this doesn't mean we ignore what Silicon Valley has that are more problematic, right? It's a region that's also known for high socioeconomic inequality, high cost of living. There's a lot of conversation right now around responsible and ethics and responsibility in technology, how to be more inclusive. And so this is also a campus that fully engages with the contributing to positive change on what are the downsides of Silicon Valley. So I think that's very important.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. I think you're absolutely right. When we talk about Silicon Valley, we think about innovations, right? Constant changes, and not be afraid of taking risks. Because I think these are also infused with our campus. By if you look at all the graduate programs we offer on this campus, these are not typical, traditional pathways. We have these pathway to programs that are really offered to non-STEM background students,
Yeah.
right? So we're trying to definitely identify ourselves in Silicon Valley region with our unique names,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
appreciate you sharing all of that.
No, and I love especially that aspect. And I would say that's a key asset that we have a lot of students who combine computing and tech with previous experiences in their careers. So they're always thinking like, okay, I used to be in finance or I used to be in architecture. Now I'm doing this technology. Like, how could I apply this new tech to some problem I had encountered in my career in finance before? Here's a new idea. So I think those kind of experiences are really a huge driver of innovation, right?
Absolutely. And I think that's really what make our students stand out in the industry, was that interdisciplinary. Great. So that kind of transitioned us to the next question, because you also mentioned about career, right? Northeastern is very career driven, and we're very career focused. As a lot of co-op is everywhere in at Northeastern. It's really big here. So can you talk about career preparation, and the support that offered here for our campus for the students?
Thank you. One of the things that struck me coming to this campus is how mission aligned everyone who's here really is, and that's in supporting the students and the student experience. That's, I think, regardless of the department we represent or what we do on a day-to-day basis, we're very, very aligned that the students are at the center of what we do. And that means serving them in the career preparation, supporting them, advising them in them realizing their aspirations. And so when I think about career preparation in a place like Silicon Valley, we obviously bring in a lot of opportunities and speakers and programs, and we're building relationships with a lot of companies and finding, the co-op opportunities and creating those bridges. But we're also thinking about what are the things we need to support our students for to be career ready, right? And that goes way beyond like having all the technical skills down. They're super important, those fundamental technical skills. But it's also how to network, how to pitch an idea, how to demo, all the things that when you are how to ace a technical interview, or what's the secret sauce right now? It's changing super quickly. So really thinking about how do we wrap a very solid programming around it that's really aligned with the multitude of skills that Silicon Valley is looking for. What's very clear right now in Silicon Valley is technical skills are still important, but they're necessary but not sufficient. The soft skills are in very high demand combined with technical skills. And partly that's also because the pandemic has atrophied our soft skills a lot. And employers are like, oh my God, like now we have a lot of people coming in that haven't really had the opportunity to network a lot or to do public presentations or to pitch an idea or to do all this. So I think really this is the time to also double down to really have really well-rounded students coming out that can be ready to contribute on day one. I've read some reports that a lot of companies with the kind of pandemic post shifts with all that soft skill conversation have had to do a lot more investments in the early career kind of experiences to bring that to bear. I also think grad students who have had career before and have done, a few things are also have an edge on that as well.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of the students, when they are applying for graduate schools, they're so keen into, academics and looking for the
Super.
long-term goal of career. Sometimes that soft skill kind of get ignored a little bit. And appreciate you mentioning that because that is definitely something that we really appreciate here at Northeastern. And once you become a student here, I think not only the technical skills, but
Yeah.
these soft skills also come along. Networking, presentation,
Yeah.
it's everything.
Yeah.
um, great. So I think our incoming students are really eager to learn more about how do they get engaged and how do they participate on campus activities. Because they can't wait to start here, and how do they get involved?
So I mean, I've joined here and I was like, oh my God, there's so much going on. How do I even keep up with everything that's going on? So, this is an incredibly active campus and community. We have 12 student interest groups that are absolutely thriving. There's so much opportunity to engage in those. Some are professional focused, such as AI and data, gaming, product development. Others are around hobbies like golfing and art and other things. And so there's a lot of community building that can happen through these, or you can decide to start your own. There's a whole process. So that's like the more opportunity to engage, the best. And also the husky spirit in Silicon Valley is very entrepreneurial. So if you have new ideas or you want to take something on, you want to organize a new initiative, I found a lot of freedom for the students to take ideas and run with it. Faculty are extremely encouraging for those ideas as well. Um, there's speaker events, and there's events that our partners host that we cross promote, and we say, hey, there's this other thing happening. This is a region that doesn't sleep much, right? So I think it's really you will be faced with so much opportunity, which is fantastic. And then really investing in doing that is very important. I would say there's the campus engagement. And then what I tell students is don't limit yourself with what's going on campus. Network outside too, right? Like again, there's so many meetups, hackathons, AI conferences, and everything. So we also want to make sure we encourage and curate those opportunities to go out in the region.
Yeah, because there's always something happening in Silicon Valley, on our campus, but also, we're in a location that's core center of Silicon Valley. So there are just plenty of opportunities for our students to engage with industry as well. Um, and I think I'm just going to add one quick question there because I think a lot of students are curious about can they participate in student work experiences? Can they apply for on-campus job? Are
Yeah.
there those opportunities for both domestic and international students?
Yes, absolutely. So we have teaching assistantships. Some faculty do research and may be looking for research assistants. And we also have a thriving student ambassador program where we have students from our campus work on activating the campus, organizing events, and also working on specific projects with members of our team. So that's definitely a big part of it. And I think they contribute so much, the student employees on campus, because they really drive an incredible culture on our campus.
They always have very creative ideas. to bring to campus, and we love that. And we really want to make sure that students have opportunities to become a leader for this campus. And one thing about Silicon Valley campus is, we are a tight community, right? So when you have an idea, you can always go to somebody and express that idea. And typically, we really try hard to make your idea come true for this campus. So we really appreciate our students' creativities. Great. So my next question is, after graduation, what about like students, after graduation, how are ways for them to, see industry? Can you talk about opportunities for students after graduation? Let's put it that way.
So our students, so there's a thriving alumni community in the Bay Area of our students, but also of the global network as a whole. So I just joined in February, and we're still like trying to find all the Huskies, and we're starting to organize and really build community with the alumni in the region. I would say that a lot of our students work in technology after they graduate. Some may join a tech role in a different industry. Some may end up in a different region, but I would say that by and large, it's in general, you can see kind of where our students end up. Some end up as entrepreneurs. It's not as common a pathway, and that's something we want to keep encouraging consideration as well. So,
Thank you for sharing that. And what about research? Because in higher ed, I think research comes in a really critical role for a university. Students always have the question about, what about Boston is doing a lot of research? What about Silicon Valley campus? Are we doing any research here?
Yes, so there is, our research is really focused with Corey faculty. And so we have the Institute for Experiential AI. Ricardo Baeza Yates leads the Responsible AI research agenda and is here in Silicon Valley. And I can't personally think of a more important topic to engage with. Kenneth Church is also here, affiliated with EAI, and is very well known for his research in natural language processing. We have John Alexi Guerra Gomez, who leads research on information visualization, and Jungkyu Lee does research in robotics, big data, and deep learning. And our incoming Curie program director is here in the audience with us, Ilmi Yoon, and has a thriving research agenda on increasing accessibility and social good through machine learning and human-centered AI. And I really encourage you, if you want to learn more about what she will be engaging with on our campus. We're so excited.
That is so exciting. Welcome to campus. And I know in the audiences, we have some newly admitted Corey students, and they would love to connect with you. Thank you for being here with us. Awesome. So we're always looking for ways to expand this campus and expand our academic offerings. What are some of the fields that do you expect Northeastern and Silicon Valley will expand into here?
Yes, so very focused on emerging technologies and technology-aligned programs. So definitely looking to expand engineering offerings, more computer science programs, entrepreneurship literacy. So really, that's where I see a fantastic opportunity for our growth, is to continue to lean into our Silicon Valley identity, and very, very be attuned, especially as the world of work is rapidly shifting with AI and Gen AI. Really be attuned to what employers are telling us, right? And really having their voice actively involved with each of our colleges to inform this kind of skills, right? So the skills that are needed for our graduates. One of the reasons I joined Northeastern as well is I read the book Robot Proof by the president of Northeastern University. And way before ChatGPT was a thing, he wrote a book about how higher education needs to adapt and evolve to make graduates robot proof, right? So, how do we create and generate the skills in a very fast changing technological landscape so that the graduates are ready for what's coming? So, not just forming graduates for what's needed now, but thinking about what is needed in 3, 5, 7 years. So I think that's a key thing we need to ask as we grow the campus.
I love that. I think every time we're thinking about, additional academic offerings, we all get super excited and wanting to learn where this campus is, heading towards too. For those of you who are new to the campus, for our online audiences, for Silicon Valley campus here, we do have 3 colleges on ground. We have Corey College of Computer Science, we have College of Engineering, and we have College of Professional Studies. And I think all 3 colleges, decided to launch their programs here on
Yeah.
our campus with very much the same intention as what Carolyn just
Yes.
mentioned. So we're all working towards the same goal to serve our students and making sure that, when you graduate, you're industry prepared, right? So that is the goal here. Awesome. Next question is, I love this question. um, we have many wonderful institutions in California, and especially we have a few that are really close to us. Right, your previous institution that you came from, being as one. So it's a competitive area. But what do you see as for Northeastern as a unique place for graduate students in Silicon Valley?
It's very unique because it is so focused on graduate education. It's so focused on graduate students, and it's focused on graduate students who are really looking to bring them the academic knowledge into a professional career. And so that's a very unique position to be in. I'm a proud Stanford alumna, and uh, there was not a ton of master's students there. It's like few and far between as a program. So I think it's a very unique position that we have in the Bay Area.
Absolutely. So again, for our new students, this campus only serves graduate students. So you will meet very likely, like-minded peers when you're here. You're here because you have a goal together, right? Sometimes some students strive in an environment that's competitive. Some students strive in an environment that's very collaborative, and I will say this campus is both. And you will see you will be able to bounce ideas with lots of peers, not only from your college, but students from this campus. So
Which is also a Silicon Valley way.
yes.
You collaborate and you compete. You compete and you collaborate. There's always both happening because it's a place that believes that by being surrounded by people who are smart and who are also, going after a lot of great things, it raises everybody, right? And so the collaboration and competition really go hand in hand, but always collaboration, because you can't get a yes on something, a big idea or something new without somebody else saying yes to you too, right? So once people understand that collaboration is really the foundation, I think everybody can be successful.
Yes. With that said, can you talk a little bit about the team here? What is the culture of the team? What does that look
Well, we practice what we preach. We are very collaborative. We also, it's really a team sport, and we also model that all hands on deck. We all do everything. You'll never hear any of us say, "That's not my job." Or at least I hope we never say that. And no, it's kind of like the ethos of the startup, right? We have a job to do, and if anybody is like, "Oh my God, I have so much to do and I haven't gotten to it, can you help?" Absolutely, the answer is yes. So that's how we work. And that's the culture that we think not only is the best way to work, because it is, but also it's what prepares the kind of team sport mentality that you then encounter after graduation in a Silicon Valley environment, expected to be agile, to be team oriented, to collaborate, and to be willing to pivot and drop whatever it is to make something else happen that just rose to the top. And that's really how we work.
It's definitely I think the team spirit here for our campus and for students. Just so you know, we do have open door policy here for our staff area. It's just right here. And you can always pop in if you're like, hey, I need help, I need assistance. Our Carolyn sits in there. She's very approachable, and we're all here to support you. I think, you know, that's deep down all staff and faculty here on our campus. We're ready to serve students anytime.
Yeah, and the idea too, again, it's both in service of the students because that's our mission, but it's also kind of self-interested. We can't improve and we may ignore the next good thing we should be bringing to this campus. We need to listen and we need to collaborate with the people who are experiencing our education, right, to come up with new ideas and also to improve anything that may not be working. So it makes a lot of sense.
Can you talk about some of the upcoming plans for this campus in terms of, you know, space-wise? Do we have any plans that you're excited about?
Yes, I don't know how. When you ask me if I'm like, okay, this building, the next building, and then what's across the street? Oh, there literally I've been in conversation. Oh, there's an apartment complex across the street. Maybe we should get that building. And so the think big and take risks. And so my hope is that we keep growing. And I can say that yes, there are plans to grow in this building. And I think that, you know, so we're starting to do that. And it's been a fascinating. I'm not an expert on design or space development, so I've been in fascinating conversations about what are we designing next and how to think about creating a space and what the space is going to use for. So I'm definitely learning new skills in the process. But yes, it's absolutely focused on growth.
We're I think we're all very looking forward to the growth for this campus. You know, for those of you who might be your first time on this campus, I encourage you to take a quick walk, look at the space and facilities we have here and the view, right? The incredible view of San Jose. You see the rolling hills. It's always sunny. Some of the days are very sunny here. So you get, you know, you're not really locked in a black box of classroom. You're really looking at the greens and the amazing views here when you're in class. So that's always very exciting to come to campus to study and do fun things too. Awesome. So I think I'm going to start turning to some of the, you know, other questions that appreciate anyone who pre-submitted some of the questions that are really, really good. I think here I have a question about new programs. I think you touch based on, you know, potentially we will have hoping that, you know, College of Engineering will offer more programs and stuff. What about things that are in line with leadership or business? Do you see those potential programs coming to this campus as well?
I do, especially if they are providing the kind of knowledge that helps people who may end up being tech entrepreneurs then be able to start. So when I think about leadership skills for Silicon Valley, right? There's leading technical teams is a topic that I think about. It's its own kind of curriculum, how to drive new products and the product life cycle, how to create innovative cultures, right? So not every leader can create the kind of culture where innovation is thriving. It comes with its own animal. So I think a lot about how do we bring in leadership curriculum that's really unique to the leadership skills that are really in demand in Silicon Valley. And it's not a secret that often in Silicon Valley, what happens is people start out as engineers and all of a sudden they're a manager and they go, oh my God, now what do I do, right? Because often you start out as a fantastic individual contributor, really focus on the technical skills, right? And all of a sudden you have to lead the vision of the technical team, you have to resolve conflicts on the team, you have to create the culture that really enables people to fully contribute, you have to worry about inclusion, you have to, so I think that if we can bring in some of these ideas early on our campus, and this can be via academic curriculum or it can be through experiential learning opportunities, then we'll have our students will be ever more ready. And like I was saying before, they also have some of those skills coming in because they're graduate students who have also sometimes had different experiences in the world, right? So.
Thank you for sharing. I now want to turn to our online audiences. Are we seeing a lot of questions coming in? If so, Alika, if you can let us know if you see anything. I guess while we wait, any questions from the room? Yes.
Maybe you can put this campus in context of the other campuses. How do you think, you talked about the 3 schools. Can you talk just about the number of students? You talked about some of the faculty. Like, how do you think that it plays with the others? And I guess the corporate relationships, are there those that you own, or how does that work?
Sure, that's a really good question. I would say I'm still figuring that out with the 13 campuses, but we are a fairly large campus, at least on the West Coast. So I think Seattle has 1,500 students. We're about to be over 1,000 students. We started in the global network early in the global network opening campuses. So a lot of the insights of how to set this up and everything were then implemented in other locations. The corporate relationships, some of them we own and they spread to other campuses, such like one example with Alan here is the Adobe relationship started here and spread to Seattle, and then it may spread to Boston. Other relationships are starting in other campuses and then spreading here. Sometimes we have independent relationships with a company that is global, right? So I don't know that anybody could tell you who really owns the Google relationship, although they're headquartered here, so we certainly have a relationship. And so I would say that when we think about the other campuses, we have a unique offering in that we're at the center of Silicon Valley. It doesn't mean that there's not demand for STEM-aligned degrees in other regions, right? So I think it's a conversation with the colleges as well, which is in what order do they roll out in different new programs in different locations? So there's a very rigorous kind of approach that goes into that.
It's a great question. Thank you. Anything online?
Yes, so we do have 2 questions online. The first one is the AI research only for Corey students?
There's a lot happening on AI. So there is AI research conducted for Corey students. There's AI everything from all the schools on this campus. So one of the things I would say about AI and engaging with AI is that this is a university that, and this started with the robot proof vision and everything, and our president, President Aoun, this is not a university that's shying away from this conversation or that's pretending this is not happening and this is not revolutionizing everything. This is a university at the highest level of leadership. They're saying, let's stay ahead of the curve. Let's roll out AI literacy badges. Let's have AI projects that we're encouraging students to start. Every single college is thinking about how to address or engage with AI in the curriculum. It's not a given, by the way. I've been to many academic conferences where I've heard faculty say, well, we're bringing back the pen and paper for exams because, and now it's all going to be in class, like really trying to take the clock backwards as opposed to trying to evolve and address it. And we're also as a campus ourselves, and I wouldn't say we have it figured out, but we have literally like a conversation and a spreadsheet where we're thinking about how do we deploy AI in our own operations in the way we work as a campus. Alan from the partnerships team right now is working with a group of students, and I would say that's directly applicable to have a chat bot to help students answer basic questions about the campus and how to navigate this or that, like the things we know come up over and over again. It's like, oh, there's an app for that. We should design and the students can build it. So that is also like if there are AI projects or initiatives the students are driven to inquire about, that's exactly what we want to see.
Thank you for submitting that question. Thank you.
Very good.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yes.
I have a question regarding the POP program. So how does the program work? So do companies just give some positions to any students so we can interview first instead of, competing with, everyone from online or offline? So how does the program work?
So the co-op program is really focused on building relationships with as many companies as we can, and then really having the best kind of getting our students known to the companies. So we do a lot of relationship building. There's no guarantee that it's like, oh, there's a job and it has to be a Northeastern student, right? So what we're really focused on is one, making sure our students are ready and competitive when they apply, to having great relationships with as many companies as we can. So they think of our students as a great source of talent. So that's how the co-op program works. So we've had 200 something co-ops in the past year, I think. Sometimes students like, hey, I found this. And then we help the company get set up in our system and everything. And then the other thing that we have a team whose job it is to make sure that the paperwork, especially if you're an international student, is all correct and fostered through the system so the student can start the job and have everything be figured out.
Absolutely. Thank you for that question. I think we do get a lot of co-op related questions, and just like what Carolyn just mentioned, for this campus, we have specific team that are really, trained to help students with co-op, right? Not only just to land on co-op, but there are a lot of steps leading towards co-op that we want students to be prepared for. And I think that's what we are really good at, and making sure that students are, starting day one, start thinking about, how to prepare for co-op. So when that opportunity comes, they're ready.
And we have here in the room Natasha, our Director of Co-op Advising for Corey and CPS, and then Erica, who's a faculty member for COE and also the Co-op Director for COE. And so they are the ones really working hands-on and then following up and yeah.
So students definitely get a lot of support to, be successful in co-op. Great question, thank you. Any questions from the room or online?
I have one more question online. Will Northeastern University be introducing more cooperative internship programs like the AWS and aligned programs in the future?
AWS co-ops? Yes, I mean, that's what we are building the relationships with the companies. Align has been a very successful relationship to the Align program for specific employers who are also very much looking to diversify their technical talent. And I think also an increased interest in having people who combine different perspectives. And so, yeah, we definitely are continuing to grow those opportunities.
Yes, for sure. With Align program, for those of you who might be new to Northeastern here, the Align program is really referring to computer science Align and data science Align. So for this campus, we offer both programs, and both CS Align and DS Align are designed for students coming from a non-STEM background and wanting to, break into tech. The Align degree in the end, you actually will get an MSCS or MSDS degree without seeing a line on your degree diploma. What it is really is having those bridging courses, so fundamental courses to set you up for success when you go into CS or DS, if that makes sense. Just wanted to clarify for those of audiences might be tuning in, hearing first time Align, what is Align? So that is what that stands for. And for our College of Engineering here in Silicon Valley, we also have a information systems bridge program that is similar to Align, but different in their own way. But that is also designed for, the program is also designed for students coming from a non-STEM background. Okay. Great, thank you, Alika. Yes.
I just have another co-op related question. So from what I understand, there are different departments that the students can have like an internship in. So if like a student, for example, wants to go to a more marketing side or a different that is not exactly related to tech like directly, but it can be like in the tech company. Is that also like a possibility, or the co-ops are more focused to an area or a theme? I would say.
And our co-op friends can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's really driven by your interests. What do you want to do? What do you want to learn? What do you want to, yeah. So I think it really starts with where do you want to invest?
For Align program, so the first one will be the bridge program. So when do students typically start with internship? Because at our companies, you really hire interns like 1 year in advance. So for example, if I'm going to do a summer internship, the previous fall, you need to start applying. But for Align students, at that time, you haven't learned fall, especially if they have study computer science before. So what does that schedule like for Align students?
It is a very good question and also a very specific question. What I will say is I'm happy to connect you with our Corey faculty and staff who might have a better kind of timeline for you, because I think a lot of prospective and incoming students are really anxious to learn about co-op from day one. But the truth to be told is you really need to build that foundation first, right? The program is designed for a way to set you for success, and including co-op too. So I'm happy to connect you with Corey, staff and faculty to learn more about that timeline. If you have specific questions regarding, are there any specific courses that are implemented in the program to help you with co-op and things like that. We also have in the audience, we also have some current Corey students who are in CS Align, DS Align. So I'm happy to connect you with them to hear from their current, experiences too. So we can do that. Any other questions? Yes.
Can you describe a little more about that Northeastern alumni community in Silicon Valley and how you see it playing a role for students here and for the campus and events?
Sure. So we are the largest Husky community outside of Boston and New York. And so we have a lot of Northeastern alumni in Silicon Valley. Some have studied in Boston, some have studied in other locations. And so this is something that we really are looking to tap into even more and really accelerate those connections. And so we've started working with the Office of Alumni Engagement to really organize a consistent series of events. We want to bring some of our alumni as speakers, organizing networking events with the students. So that's something we really want to grow, and then bring back also the students that do graduate from our campus as well. And highlight them and make sure that they feel a sense of home here as well. So that's a huge area, and obviously it's also a great way to continue building the relationships with all the Silicon Valley companies, because you can look at on LinkedIn at the Northeastern page and look where the alumni are, and if you select San Francisco Bay Area, I may have done that a few times. You can see like, wow, we have a lot of alumni in this region working in incredible roles. And so that's a key asset for us. Thank you, Alan, for asking that.
Questions? Anything else online?
The student is wondering if Northeastern has co-op programs for the MS in project management as well.
We have co-ops in all graduate programs. One thing to note is that in the graduate space at Northeastern, co-op is not a mandatory for graduation. Okay. Some students have this, idea of I have to complete a co-op in order to graduate, which is simply not true for graduate studies at Northeastern. It is really up to the students. But yes, we do have co-op programs in all colleges here. Thank you for that question.
We do have another question. What is the most optimal job seeking timeline for IS bridge students?
I would say that really depends. Right?
So I would say network from day one. And of course, take your studies seriously, of course. But also get out there, network, and network some more. And that is non-negotiable for Silicon Valley job seeking. And so I think that's the biggest investment anybody can do, and that's day one. And network with your peers. Your peers are going to end up being also opening up doors for you. So that would be the ideal timeline, is network every day or every week.
That is really important in any graduate studies. If you pursue a graduate study in any other places, I think that's also going to be emphasized in networking. And at the same time, I feel like, with timeline I think everyone has different timelines. But when it comes to campus engagement, I always encourage incoming students to start looking for those activities that we plan out, right? Monthly, quarterly. There's a reason why we're organizing these activities. We're not just throwing out events for having more events. These events are really designed carefully to help graduate students be successful in your study time here. 2 years are gonna fly by really quick. So like Carolyn said, starting from day one, you want to start networking not only outside of here, inside of Northeastern, but everywhere. And one easy step is through our events that we plan for you, and take advantage of those resources.
Even tonight is also networking.
Yes. So for those of you who are here in person, we love seeing you here, and that's why we also have our, key campus partners in present. So you have the time to talk to them directly and ask questions.
And, too, as you even anticipate coming here, I don't know if there's a way for if you're in another country to find each other, or all the mechanisms that, the team in enrollment, and a way to start having conversations even before you get here.
Fantastic. All right, I think we have questions for maybe one last question. Anyone else in the audience, or yes?
I just wondered, students get enrolled in co-op programs, are they gonna change? Actually, this is into two questions. The part is, are they gonna defer their graduation time because they took time to do internships or co-ops? Would that make the 2-year program like a 3-year or 2.5 year? And second question is, if I take co-op, but I still want to graduate on time, can I take more credits in one semester, like more than 4, or I don't know?
So.
Or the college advisors.
Yes, so we actually have a few co-op specialists in the audience today that I think is who might be more suitable to answer that question. In fact, Erica, who's sitting right next to you, um, will be somebody who you probably want to connect to learn more about those specific questions. But I appreciate that question. I think it depends on the program, depends on the co-op. There are a few factors that might play in that. And when it comes to course registration, I always encourage incoming and new students to sit down and have an appointment with your academic advisor who's here on ground, who's ready to support you, mapping out that course, graduate courses for you, right? So when it comes to, hey, I want to take more classes so that I can, graduate earlier, you want to have that conversation with your academic advisor, because they are the expert in making sure that you're not failing any of the academic courses, because in the end, we want you to be successful here. And the course cadence are designed for a reason. But yeah, I will leave it there and have you talk to Erica.
Yeah, and we have extraordinary academic advisors as well. One of them is here, Kimberly for COE, and they're really making sure that the cadence and, okay, you have this opportunity now, but this course is offered then. What does that mean? So making sure that all the T's are crossed and the I's dotted at each point in the program. They're fantastic.
Absolutely. A lot of our students, sometimes they are so eager to register for classes, and then later on realizing, oh, I can have this support here on ground to walk me through this process. That makes their academic life easier too. So for those of you who are tuning in today and here with us, I definitely encourage you, once you are committed to us, once you decide to come to us, connect with your academic advisor, and you will get that opportunity during orientation. So make sure you take advantage. Awesome. We are at time. It is 7 p.m. here. I know that our online audiences probably are tuning in from everywhere. There are some early mornings, there are some late nights. So thank you so much for joining us today. If you have submitted questions online and unfortunately we didn't get a chance to get to it, please feel free to contact me directly. My email, you probably have received multiple emails from me, but my email is y.shao@northeastern.edu. So feel free to follow up. We can continue the conversation that way. But thank you so much for joining us today, and have a lovely day or have a lovely night.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you.
We do have more. My name is Kim. I can make sure I grab some.